You are listening to Film vs. Analytics, a fantasy points podcast where each day we discuss a new rookie based on the Dynasty ADP, battling them out, Film vs. Analytics. I am your host, Brett Whitefield, the film expert. I'll be joined by Scott Barrett, the analytics beast. We are Fantasy Points. And guys, remember, we are the only Film vs. Analytics podcast that matters. Make sure you're listening every single day.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Today we are talking Penn State tight end Tyler Warren. So without further ado, Scott Barrett, what's up, man?
What's up? A lot of imposters out there. Film versus data. There's only one, folks.
Yes, there's only one. We are the original. So anyways, Tyler Warren, he's kind of a stud, no?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been teasing this for I don't know how many weeks now, where it's like, well, in reality, Tyler Warren, Kostin Loveland are the real wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, or, you know, if you count Travis Hunter, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 in the class. They're awesome. Maybe this is going to be a boring episode just because it's easy. I mean, we're going to have a debate. I think I like one of these two significantly more than you. Maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, so let me dive into Tyler Warren. He's older. He's a late breakout. You can argue he's a one-year wonder. I mean, he was a quarterback all throughout high school. He played behind NFL caliber tight ends, Brenton Strange, who went in round 2, Theo Johnson, who went in round 4. I had Jim Nagy, who's the GM of the Oklahoma Sooners, on the podcast last year, and he was hyping up Theo Johnson. It was like, yeah, you know, I'm looking at his analytics profile. He's athletic, but like the production, like who is this Tyler Warren guy? Like he looked so much better based on the numbers to me. He's like, well, yeah, Tyler Warren could be a top 10 pick next year. I'm like, oh, really? I haven't heard anything about it. He's like, Tyler Warren is awesome, dude. And lo and behold, I think he's gonna be a top 10 pick. But even if you did want to argue he's a one-year wonder, you could also argue this is the greatest tight end season in college football history. Last year, he had 1,200 plus receiving yards, 218 rushing yards, 12 total touchdowns. His 1,451 yards from scrimmage is the most by any tight end in Power Conference history. It's 400 more than the next closest mark this past decade, which is Brock Bowers. Only Fannin and James Casey, that's Bowling Green and Rice, small schools with a sub 30th percentile strength of schedule, beat that out all time. Penn State, 96th percentile strength of schedule. Last year, he led the league in yards after the catch. He set PFF college era record. So this is dating back to 2014. Single season marks for a Power Conference tight end in targets, receptions, yards, first downs, first downs per route run. Only Bowers 2021 was better by yards per route run, by yards per team pass attempt. It's the best in 15 years. No one else comes close. And you can even contrast him to wide receivers. Like I said, he led in yak. That's not just tight ends. It's all players to all positions, led in yak. Among all wide receivers from last year's class, only Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. had better seasons by yards per route run and first downs per route run. And my model loved to see his rushing production. Like that's something that weirdly matters for wide receivers. Maybe it's indicative of, really strong. I mean, you're good with the ball in your hands, so let's get this guy the ball in his hands more often. And so we talked about that with Bowers last year, like how good he was as a runner. Warren blew him out of the water. 26 carries, 218 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns among all players with at least 1,100 receiving yards in a single season. That's the 4th most on a top 5 list that includes Tavon Austin, Jeremy Maclin, Sammy Watkins, Brandon Cook. Of those, only Tavon Austin had a better yards per carry than Warren's 8.4. And I could just go on and on. I think the dude is an absolute freak of nature. I think he's amazing. I think he is, my God, tight end premium leagues. He's not Brock Bowers. There's only one Brock Bowers, but like, is he the closest prospect to Brock Bowers in 10 years? I'd say probably. You're going to find people arguing that Kostin Loveland is the better receiver. I think that's a somewhat loaded thing to say. I don't know. I don't think so. we can get into that, Brett. But I think Warren's the tight end one. I think he's the tight end one for fantasy.
I mean, you're not going to get a lot of disagreement from me on anything. You can make the. I think Loveland's a better route runner with the higher ceiling, as far as like maybe 140 target guy one day. But if you want to make the case that Warren's a better receiver, I'm not going to argue with you about it. Like, it's too close to call. They're very different players, so it doesn't even really matter. Warren's also very different than Brock Bowers, who you mentioned. But
We're
yeah,
talking about Warren being on the Gronk Kittle spectrum. We're talking about Loveland being on the McBride, Bowers, Zach Ertz spectrum.
Kelsey spectrum,
Yeah, Kelsey, of course. But
yeah, with Warren, we're getting, just the prototype size in run game impact. I think that teams will be attracted to. That's something you didn't mention. And I know for fantasy, we don't really care a ton about run game impact, but I think it kind of matters. And I'm not saying Loveland won't be an every down player right away, but Warren for sure will be. The day he's drafted, he will be an every down tight end. You can ISO him in pass pro, and he's going to body guys in the run game. Just a fantastic blocker. Already has his hands dirty as far as like Penn State used him in line at the point of attack on pretty much all the run concepts, where a guy like Loveland, who's not a bad blocker by any means, but it was easier assignments coming from the slot a lot, coming in motion. He was the split man and split zone all the time. So a little bit easier assignments. Warren also just will bench press defensive ends. Like go turn the college football playoff on and watch what Warren was doing to the best teams in the country. Their force defenders. There was a rep against SMU where he took a defensive end. They were on the 19-yard line and he took them out of the back of the end zone, Scott.
wow.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, this is a defensive end in the Power 4 that he took from the 19-yard line out of the back of the end zone. I mean, that is insane. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge impact that doesn't usually. I think people undersell what Warren means to the run game for a team, and the run game is cool right now too in the NFL. So I think it helps him from a fantasy standpoint because he will always be on the field. But from an offensive weapon standpoint, I mean, this dude is awesome. I think he's extremely athletic, like way more athletic than people give him credit for.
We don't have that 40 time on him or Loveland, which is a little concerning. But
it is a bummer. We have good GPS data though on both of them, so I'm not too concerned. I also think like Warren's a very high cut, long strider kind of guy, so where it doesn't always look like he's moving really fast. Like, he gets on the toes of defensive backs quick, especially against too high coverages, getting on the toes of that safety, being able to hit that two-way go. Like, he's awesome. He's a mismatch weapon across the board too. Obviously, he has positional versatility. He can play out wide, play in the slot. But if you commit a defensive back to him, a safety, he's so much bigger than these guys. He's just boxing them out and framing them out of the picture. It doesn't matter if the coverage is tight. He's coming away with the football. And then against linebackers, he's just too athletic. They can't stop him either. So he really is kind of like a Joker type player. And then the cherry on top, actually, I'm going to save the cherry on top. He's also got crazy ball skills and body control. And Scott, you've heard me talk about this till I'm blue in the face. Body control for pass catchers, the number one trait. If you have elite body control, that probably means you have a high ceiling as a route runner. It probably means you have a high ceiling as a run after catch guy. And then obviously being able to own the airspace as Iron Man is important. And so especially for a tight end in the red zone, that's usually where they make their impact. Like, this is a big deal. So, and then the cherry on top, dude, is the freaking Wildcat QB stuff. And people laugh at it. The dude had almost 400 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns last year rushing.
Yeah.
As a Wildcat QB, and in a league where
can we get Tyler Warren in a tush push situation?
Exactly. This is what I was leading to say.
For real?
The tush push has become the most valuable play in football because now 3rd and 5s are 3rd and 3. Like, you're getting an extra down out of it, and Tyler Warren is a guy who comes in right away and he can handle your tush push package. He can handle all of your short yardage running ability if you need him to. I think this is a huge value, dude. Like, I am not sleeping on this. I think this actually matters a lot, especially like if you're a team like, gosh, Detroit's a bad example because they have Sam Laporta. But if you're a team like Jacksonville or Chicago, Caleb Williams and Trevor, you don't want these guys taking these hits. They've had injury stuff pop up. They're both smaller on their skinny side of things. Let Tyler Warren handle that stuff. Don't, and I mentioned those two teams because they're actually in draftable range for Tyler Warren. So like, I think this is a legitimate, cherry on top moment for him, where I think this is kind of what elevates him above Loveland for me. And I do think he's a better prospect than Loveland, even though they're both top 12 guys for me on my board or something like that. So,
I mean, if you gave Brock Bowers just like a third of Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns, he would have been a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy. Like
exactly.
that's just like massive. And that's something no one else is talking about. But I wanted to circle back to what you were saying about blocking. So like in past years, I really poo-pooed this as, well, you don't score fantasy points when blocking.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And I've really come back around on it. And so like we're putting him in the Gronk Kittle archetype, who are like two of my favorite players of all time. I also think the most underrated players of their era. Like I think Gronkowski, and the numbers bear this out, was from an NFL standpoint was the most underrated or was the most valuable non-quarterback of his era. And I think that might also be true of George Kittle, just like routinely highest graded blocker, and then like always leading the position in yards per route run. I think I'd have them over Travis Kelce. Like Kelce is
For
such
sure.
a freak and like so much more productive, but you have to understand he's running so many more routes, where it was Kittle and Gronk who were always number 1 in yards per route run in their years. And so part of this with Warren and with Gronk and with Kittle is he really changes the dynamic of how teams play you, because they're so scared of the run game. They have to have these, extra run defenders in it. And then that just opens up more efficiency in the passing game, of which Warren can be like a chief beneficiary, getting these mismatches against linebackers and safeties. And so like from a real NFL standpoint, I've been hammering this drum for a long time. The counter to this is that the NFL doesn't draft tight ends all that well. But like from just in terms of pure value is like when in the aggregate, tight end isn't that important. At the polar extremes, at the highest end of the spectrum, it is easily one of the most underrated positions in football. It's so important, so valuable. And then especially when you factor in that second contract and you have guys like George Kittle, top 3 among all players in yards per route run last year, while being an elite blocker, and he's getting like wide receiver 46 money, And so, yeah, I think you could take Warren with like a top 6 pick in the NFL. I think that's fine. I think like I said, uncertainty regarding Travis Hunter. I'd probably take Ted over him, but you could take him over Luther Burden. You could take him over Amika. Maybe not even in a tight end premium league, which is most of my leagues. Maybe that's crazy. I don't know, but I just love this guy.
Scott, we're in a league together that's currently drafting. You took him what, 6th? And that was
yeah, and I probably would have taken him earlier. Gene T, O'Marion Hampton, Tet McMillan, and then it's like, yeah, him.
Scott, I think you can argue, and again, I'll defer to you because I'm not the dynasty expert. I think you can argue he should be the 2nd pick in Superflex tight end premium leagues over
Wow.
Hampton. We don't know, for one, we don't know where
Well,
Hampton's
we
going.
haven't recorded on Hampton. I guess we'll have to do that. I like him a lot.
We both like Hampton a lot. It's not has nothing to do with Hampton. It's the scarcity of tight end in fantasy football.
Yeah.
It's tight end premium.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that like you could still get a comparable running back to Amari and Hampton with your 2nd pick if you're picking 2nd overall, to where you are not sniffing that talent with Tyler Warren in the 2nd round.
Well, I have it like Gene T1 and then a tier of nobody, and then O'Marion Hampton, and then a tier of nobody, and then my RB3. So I don't know. That I think it's a close call. I think you're raising a great point. I think it legitimately is a close call.
Yeah, which is why I say you could make the argument. There's arguments against it as well, but I really do like, that's how much I like Tyler Warren. So
yeah.
All right, so you heard it here. Brett's taking him at 2 overall. Scott, you're taking him anywhere from 2 to 6, depending on how your board plays out. So I think that's fun. He's an easy. This is probably a boring episode. Easy guy to talk about.
Yeah, and ideal landing spot, because we're recording pre-draft. I think this is so obvious. I'd be shocked if you don't get it, but ideal landing spot, Brett.
I recently mocked him to the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5th overall.
Oh,
I think the ideal spot though is the Chicago Bears at 10.
oh, that
Shame.
might even I well, maybe it's not ideal landing, but I like most likely landing spot. I was thinking Jets. You know, we saw the difference that Sam Laporta made to that Lions offense.
Jets will like him as well because of that Tanner Eggstrand coming from that system. But Ben Johnson, maybe it's not ideal in Chicago because they have a Roma Dunes and they have a DJ Moore already as pass catcher. So I get the argument there. But as far as having a coach who knows exactly how to maximize him, you either want him on the Shanahan on a Shanahan team or you want him with Ben Johnson.
We both went with the former Lions coaches, now head coaches. Yeah, that's it. Man, what an embarrassing of riches for Caleb Williams. They really upgraded that offensive line. If he stinks this year like he did last year, that would be rough.
That would be rough. All right, we're going to get out of here. Up next, we're going to be talking Colston Loveland, and we can kind of juxtapose these two and compare and contrast a little bit. Thanks for sticking with us. We are out.